We'll turn the fan on. Oh Lord, that's what happens when you come on the show. There, we start acting a fool in the green room.
Oh my goodness!
And then we go live, and people are like, "I want to see y'all tape the green room because y'all have more fun in the green room than you do on the damn show."
Oh my
Hey everybody, welcome to the Philippe Matthews Show After Hours. We are back with Emunah Y'srael, and we are having a good time in the green room. A lot of you might know or might not know, and some of y'all probably don't even care. But my mother-in-law is in town, and so we've been talking about mother-in-laws and what what we're trying to do to keep everybody alive, keep Philippe sane, keep me from becoming an alcoholic. And so Emunah's been doing Soulonomics because that's her thing, Soulonomics 101. She's been giving me some healing techniques, and we've just been kind of laughing and joking and everything. I've been trying everything to get rid of it. We sent out to people trying to get the Zika virus to come in, nothing, and Ebola. She keep waking up, people. Keep waking up. I don't know what it is. But anyway, we're going to just pray for me, and it's going to be all right. And if anybody has issues with in-laws, you understand what I'm going through and hopefully what I will grow through.
Yes.
So that being said, Emunah Y'srael is the creator, as I said earlier, of Soulonomics 101. She's also the author of the Angry Black Woman Syndrome Revisited, My Brother, My Keeper, which is her latest book, which is amazing, and the Bamidbar journal, and which is a 12-step guide for examination and purification. And Lord knows, I think I need to get that journal, and I need to purify myself and examine myself because I'm going through some stuff right now.
Yeah.
Welcome back, sister.
Thank you for having me. All praise be to the Most High. Thank you for having me once again, Brother Philippe. And yes, Brother Philippe is joking, everybody. We was just, just trying to break up that ground and lighten. Laughter is a beautiful thing because it helps to raise your vibration. So
absolutely. We're I would never try to kill my mother-in-law. I wouldn't do that. That's not right. Anyway, let's move on. There's no knives or anything showing in the background. Okay, all right. Now, so what we do every week, ladies and gentlemen, is after our show, we sit down for about probably sometimes a whole hour and talk about the show, and then subsequently that turns into the next show.
Basically, it's really
it's an ongoing saga. I swear to God, we should just keep the cameras on and just keep the conversation going because there's so much to talk about. And one of the things that keeps coming up in our conversations with Emunah is the success, if you will, of this white supremacy of breaking the melinated mind, because we see our people acting so unnaturally, and sometimes it just we just use the term shaking my damn head, because we just can't believe sometimes the level of and I don't even want to say stupidity or something. I don't want to be degrading with it, but it's just talk about being out of our minds. Sometimes it's just mind-boggling. So Emunah really wanted to talk about the success of the oppressors of taking our mind, but subsequently, how do we get our mind back? How do we get our mind right? And then how do we connect collectively with those who are trying to get their mind right? Let's kind of start with that premise, Emunah, and then we'll move into some deeper things and go into some other areas.
Yeah, definitely. And once again, thank you for having me back, Brother Philippe. As you said, and you said it to me as we were having the conversation, hashing out what we were going to speak about. And it's been said, you have to first admit that your mind has been tainted, right? You have to first acknowledge that, hey, like Brother Philippe likes to say, the European has been successful. You have to give credit where credit is due. And the credit doesn't necessarily mean I'm praising you for what you've done, but credit is they were successful, point blank. And this is the starting block for us to realize, yes, we are out of our natural minds. This is where we start. It's like somebody who has an ailment or an issue. They acknowledge that, hey, they have allowed themselves to become a drug addict or an alcoholic or a gamble addict or whatever it is, and you understand that this is dysfunctional, you can start from there. So we have to first acknowledge, hey, it is dysfunctional to think, act, and move the way we do. And it wasn't by happenstance. It was a systematic reprogramming of the melanated mind. And it's not really, I think you talk about, and I don't want to give a spoiler, but you talk about 0 point thinking. And that is that is the rock bottom. This is the truth. Because we like to talk about the symptoms. Oh, look at this person's hair, or look at it. But okay, let's acknowledge what has happened. You were reprogrammed to think, act, move, and behave the way you do. And then we could start from there.
Wow, this is powerful, because you have to understand what we're saying, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody is doing their own level of research on this, especially the people who tune into this and want to have be a part of these conversations. When we look at how, I mean, just it's almost unfathomable sometimes, but how many generations it has taken to break that mind. How many generations has it taken to break that melanated mind? Now, because, and it's only because we are melanated, we are always and always have been and always will be connected to that first source, because we were first on the planet. That is the only reason that we have maintained being on this planet. The fact that everything comes from us, all other humans, all other human beings come from us. No other human being can create an African. No other species of man can create an African. And so it's that original frequency that keeps us. Now, trying to break us of our mind, successfully doing so, at least here in this continent, and perhaps some other continents, but America in particular. We're still connected to that source, Emunah. We're still connected to that divinity, which is why some of us, which is really the only reason that we can become conscious and awake. It's the only way that we can have this conversation. It's the only way that we can say, you know what, there's just something just not right here. And let's start looking at our history. Let's start recovering, rediscovering who we are, where we came from, because we are the strongest race that has ever existed. You cannot talk about heaven unless you have gone through hell. And we have gone through hell so that we can really teach people what heaven really is. And nobody has been able to do that better than the African American. So it's kind of a double thing that I'm saying here. It's like, on one sense, they successfully broke our mind. But the other side of that is, because we are melanated people, because we are the original people, because we are the smartest, most powerful people on the planet, and because we went through chattel slavery and went through this American diaspora, that we have become superhuman, super sapiens, and we have to force this issue and evolve ourselves out of this concept of not wanting to talk about our history and not talk about slavery.
Yeah, as you were speaking, the thing about the body, even nature, it looks to repair itself. If you give it the right things, it will repair itself. You don't heal the body. You give the body the nutrients that it needs, and the body heals itself. You see nature. Someone tries to disrupt the path of a river or something, and then it looks for another course to continue that flow of energy. And so, as it relates to programming, that what the European has done is something that needs to continually be done. This is why advertising is a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar business, because it's not something that you can do one time and that's it. And this is what we have to realize as it relates to the programming of the mind. When you begin to unplug from certain things that are used to program, your mind is going to automatically look to begin to heal itself. It's like a perm. You know what I'm saying? You put the perm in, and after 6 weeks, your hair is like, okay, coming back. You know, that's the natural.
I really can't relate to anything you're saying about perms and hair.
Yeah, Brother
I'm
Philippe
not
doesn't
really-
understand. But for the sisters out there, they definitely understand. They'll call it, quote, new growth. Because the natural you will look to come back, and you have to continue the synthetic system. So once we acknowledge that, and one of the major mechanisms is media. And this is why when it deals with mind consumption, you have to be very careful what you and your children consume, your household, as it relates to news, written, verbal, music, movies. It's not entertainment. Stop thinking that it's just entertainment. It affects you, your children. And so if you want to talk about healing the mind, you really have to look at what you're putting into the mind.
Wow, that's powerful. I like that. You know, I remember there was a movie. Remember, was it Jurassic Park? There was a theme throughout that movie that said nature will find a way.
Oh, it's gonna find a way.
And we are the original products of nature, and we will find a way. It is the reason why we have been able to survive something that no other species of human would be able to survive.
I mean, the level of it, many people across the world and still today are in levels of, and this is what I was telling you like 2 days ago, Tuesday, I think it was, there was the international day of remembrance for the slave trade and the abolition thereof. And there's also talk of today, there's still being a level of slavery, whether it be sex slaves, whether it be workers in different places of the world. But as it relates to the magnitude of slavery for a whole people group, and the way in which, you know, the methodology that they used, and for the people to still be here, like I said, they attempted it with the Indians. It didn't go so well. It was like, yo, it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have, and this is why because they actually started at first to try to enslave the Indians, the Arawaks and Tiano Indians that was already here. They was like, okay, it's not really working. And it was like, okay, let's go get these dudes. So it was tried, and as well as Europeans. I don't know how much. I was doing the research, and there was a plantation before they came to America. There was a plantation in like some upper place within Europe where they wanted to make Europeans go work. But it doesn't always work the same. It's around the 1400s. They're about 1500s. There was I was like, wow, they had a white people plantation with like what they was gonna do. But they decided instead.
Well, we need to revisit that. I mean, we need to look at that for modern times. Like, I'd like to, you know, let's get some property. Let's go get some land, people. And
no, I gotta get you that information because I was reading. Oh, I was reading about King James. That's what I was reading about. I was reading about King James, the first king. He was king of 3 thrones, and they were speaking about when they formed Jamestown, which was named after him coming to America. And I know I seem like I'm digressing, but bear with me. That's what I was reading. Do you know he was so against, he ran the first anti-tobacco campaign. Like he had this dislike for tobacco, and the fact that it was flooding into England, that he wrote this whole, you have to read it, Brother Philippe. It's crazy. But anyway, I say that to say they decided to come to America as opposed to sending the people to that plantation. And they realized that the melinated people, not just the Indians, but those of, quote, African descent, were the most durable for hard labor. Okay. And so this is how we get to this conversation that we're having now, about what fabric, what's the caliber of people you're talking about, and how much they have a propensity to return back to a level of greatness. You understand? And people, it leaves the people in awe. Like, wow, I can't believe you're still here. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe, I've tried as I may to get rid of you people, but you still here and you still rising. What's really going on? And like you said, the connection to source, the connection to your divine purpose is very important as we're talking about reclaiming your right mind. And so I took y'all around the world on that one, but yeah, go ahead.
No, that was good travel, though. That was really good travel. I want to talk more about. Send me that information on the first white plantation. That's. Yeah,
I don't know if it was the first, but I do know
I'm crazy as hell. I'd be trying to get everybody together. We would be building a white plantation right here, boy. I swear to God. We'll have war. You talk about a war. Yeah, what's over there? Well, we got some white people over here. They're over here doing some stuff and building some stuff. We got them over there. Don't you want to own a couple of white people? Just a few. Now, you know.
No, Brother Philippe. The thing is,
we don't want to reverse it. We don't.
Brother Philippe is breaking out today, and this is the thing. You know, there was.
I remember Richard Pryor talking about it was Flip Wilson. I'm definitely showing my age now. I know I'm old, but I remember Flip Wilson using the joke. He's like, I'd love to own a few white people, you know. So,
but if you look at it, if you look at the conversation, and I'm not trying to be funny, but Brother Philippe is being funny today. If you look at the conversation where you had indentured servants from Ireland and Scotland, and you had Indians, and they said the most durable as it relates to their abilities was the richly melanated individual. And you have to look at the reverse conversation. The conversation was, you're lazy. In actuality, you were doing all the work. So if you have someone, say, of a European stock, and I'm not saying all, you think you're going to get the most out of them?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because they were the ones who were sitting around letting you do all the work. So right. The minute you begin to press, oh, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, you might hear a lot of complaints. I used to work in places with customer service, and I'm not saying all, but I've never seen that many complaints. When a European complains, oh, they're complaining. Like, we will complain after we leave the store. Oh, no, they're going to complain at the store in front of everybody. Call your manager, call your this, call your that, and it will be for the simplest thing. So you have to look at not all, but some, the psychology of who we're talking about and how that would really go as it relates to working for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, it makes all the sense in the world, because here's the rub. You know, after slavery was ended, you have the most durable people who were also bred to be even more durable, to build and to run a city, and to maintain all of the aspects of running a city and running a state, a country. Now they're free. Well, how are you going to deal with the most durable people competing with you for a job?
You have to suppress them.
I mean, think about that. I mean, it's like what Professor Kabahil Wasakamane says. He said, if it happened to me, I'd do the same thing they did.
They had to suppress.
They had to oppress and suppress because they were in a position of weakness and inferiority. So the only thing they had was laws.
That's it.
All they had were laws, and they had guns, but they had more laws than guns. And which is one of the reasons why, if you go back in history, looking at Bacon's Rebellion, why the first series of anti-miscegenation laws was first to not allow the African or non-white people to own gunpowder.
Yeah, I think that's
because laws with guns is superiority, is power. So they knew they took that away, and that was just one of the many laws that created and ushered in chattel slavery. And then, of course, the other law is you can't sue them and take them to court.
You can't go to the law. The slave master, you can't testify. All of these things, like you said, the legality of it was to suppress and oppress a people who, you know, intrinsically, and this is why we say, looking at the oppressor's mind, we need to know both sides of the story, because we're only seeing it from one side. And like you said, on the other side of the story, they're not telling the full truth of, like you just explained, why this needs to be done. Because I'm afraid. Why does this need to be done? You have more ability than me in many areas. Why does this need to be done? I want to contain and maintain control and power. And so when we look at it from that perspective, we can stop being poor me, this, that. We can understand it and see it for what it is what I'm trying to say. So like we were speaking about last week, the narrative has to be one that's going to make you feel less than, because it empowers. And then we have to now admit, you know what? This was what it was. And this is, so when we have to analyze and reanalyze every thought that we have, and we have to trace that thought to where in the world is it coming from? Do you understand what I'm saying? We have to trace, and it's going to take a lot of work, and a lot of people ain't got no time for that. But the reality is, if you don't do it, you cannot begin to fix what has been broken within us. Because if you leave us to ourselves, we're gonna begin to fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna begin to quit. We're gonna begin to walk out. We're gonna begin to say, "I'm gonna do," and you're gonna have. By the time you're done, you're gonna have 50 million splinter groups. Because no one wants to listen to anyone. No one has any respect for anyone past a certain point. Because Master has taught you the only one you respect is Master. Do you see? So this is why we have to be honest with ourselves. A lot of people are talking about liberation and freedom. Let's see how that worked out.
You had when we were talking even before the green room, you had brought up Haiti.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Haiti as it relates to what we're talking about in this agenda of oppression and the successful breaking of the melanated mind.
As I'm a newbie, so those who are listening definitely chime in, share your thoughts. As I'm expanding and continue to read about what happened on North America, and the diasporas all throughout the Caribbean as well as South America, Brazil being the largest population of slaves in the West, Jamaica and Cuba and the islands, and then America. But when you look at Haiti or Santo Domingue was getting the most people earlier on, and because they found gold, they found the Indians there, and when it didn't work, they began to import Africans earlier on, well, so-called Africans. And so Haiti was one, and some reports say that they dropped off the dissonance. Those who were riled up and couldn't be controlled, they dropped those off in Haiti and Jamaica. So you see a kind of spirit between Haiti and Jamaica, that kind of same kind of spirit. Mixing. It's like we can't help ourselves. But I said that to say Haiti was like, forget this. I'm not down with all of this. And without this whole specifics of the rebellion, a rebellion came out of Haiti, and they were successful in overthrowing the French. They ran the French out of town. And the French ran off, and the Haiti was granted sovereignty. And what I read yesterday on my channel was the 1805. I was listening to a documentary, and she was talking about the 1805 Constitution of Haiti. See, and this is straight out of quote slavery. Haiti wasn't broken. They weren't successful in breaking the people. And because they weren't successful in breaking the people, as soon as they came out, they established an empire. A melanated empire in the midst of a slave trade. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then they were like, okay, we can't allow this to happen. We can allow these people to rise as a men, like on equal footing with us. And they attacked Haiti, let's just say economically, because then Haiti ended up having to pay reparations to France. France said, okay, you want your sovereignty? Well, pay me for my land, pay me for all of the money that I invested, that I lost, even though I stole you. It's very strange. Like I said, I'm at the beginning of that whole conversation, but you see that once you do try to strike out on your own in this system, because it's still a system that goes beyond the US. When you do strike out, and when you do want to stand up, if you don't have other supportive measures around you, they will just encircle you and still bring you down. And the propaganda that was put out there against Haiti early on, it was one that would make the people on the mainland as well as the other islands not want to identify with the overthrowing of the oppressor. And I could just only testify to that as, like I said, growing up around Caribbean people. When you grew up, you didn't know why they were speaking about that like that to Haitians. But they're not really Haitians. They just ended up on the island of Haiti. It's all a man of the same people. But the thought was this was the lower, to be Haitian wasn't the thing to be, let's just say. But now as I'm learning, I said, oh, it was a propaganda campaign. Now I understand. So we have to go deeper into these spaces as we talk about the mind of the oppressor. That definitely is the mind of the oppressor, because we don't know why they got blackballed oftentimes. And to understand that strength is what allowed them or made them get blackballed.
Absolutely.
So that's my little tidbit on Haiti. And it's definitely online. You can see the 18.
Yeah, make sure you send me a link so I can put that up and share it with our peeps.
You can see the 1805 Constitution. One more thing that was in the Constitution was no, quote, white man was allowed to own land.
Really?
in the Haitian Empire. So you know that later on they forced them to change that. But when they first were declared sovereign, that was up in their law books.
Wow.
That was kind of wild. Yeah, that was kind of wild.
That was kind of cool, actually. That's kind of great.
Yeah. And if they did own it, they would confiscate it, and it would belong back to the state. So, you know, it's good to see, because like I said, a lot of people are talking about sovereignty, but if we don't know our history, if we don't know what happened, what will happen, and what continues to happen, because we don't know the game that's being played.
Right. Absolutely. So the conversation about the successful breaking of the mind, of the melanated mind, we look at, you were telling me about what just happened. Leslie Jones is back in the news. And so I guess somebody hacked her website, and she, you know, her as a melanated sister is constantly under attack. And then there are those who agreed with it and support it. It's absolutely insane. Speak to us about how is it that we are able to do the most harm psychologically and sometimes even physically to our own and to strangers that we have never met?
2 words for me anyway: survival mode. Survival mode, Brother Philippe. We have never, as a collective, come out of survival mode, that base mode of survival. Some people are going to associate themselves with the quote winning team. It's just what it is. It's not. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, in my estimation, it's what it is. So if someone has seen someone go against the system, and they broke, they hungry, they the poor righteous teacher, and you don't want to be broke, hungry, and a poor righteous teacher, you're going to make the decision in yourself, hey, if I have to go against you to win, then that's what I'm going to do. And we see that as a collective, because oftentimes when you align yourself with melanated people of the diaspora, that means that you are going contrary to the system. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so earlier on, I saw her conversation, going back at the people on Twitter or social media who were saying mean and nasty things and getting results. Someone said, I'm going to deal with you, because this is kind of how it happens. Mm-hmm. You do something people don't like, and they come and say they're going to deal with you, and they do these underhanded, dirty type tricks to deface you. The same thing. We're back at the same thing again. It's just on small levels and big levels. It's for individuals and communities. If I don't want you to go in a certain place, I'm going to say, oh, they're dirty, they're nasty. Don't go over there. They're full of disease. Meantime, you're over there taking out all the resources. You understand? It's kind of the same thing. And I don't really think it has changed. So as it relates to Leslie, I don't know the full story. I just know that somebody leaked or hacked the website. But if you look at how vocal she has been against, social media bullying and racism and things of this nature, you see that it's going to ruffle people's feathers. And if you are, quote, melanated and you don't want people to attack you too, then you're going to call her out. This is what we see people in survival mode, because, oftentimes a person will say, if I stand with you, what's in it for me?
The other thing I think needs to be addressed, Emunah, in this is that in psychology, there's a thing called learned helplessness.
Yeah, learned helplessness, indeed.
And when you feel hopeless, sometimes, it's like a wounded dog, right? A wounded dog, when you go over to try to help it, will bite you, will harm you. And we have to deal with our woundedness. We have to deal with our learned helplessness. Because it's not logical or natural to lash out at people who you have never met, people you don't know, and you're just angry. I have to delete and block countless people on YouTube, on my YouTubes, my Facebook, my Twitters, all of my accounts, because they're just something. And these are melanated people. But some of them are so angry and so wounded that they have become dangerous and are a detriment to their potential and subsequently they can endanger your potential.
Agreed. I agree. It's okay. I like analogies, right? Say somebody got a deep cut or a gash, okay? And you come along and you want to help them. So you come with the peroxide and the gauze to clean it out. You touch that that cut, it's going to hurt. And if it really hurts, they might hit you. They might scream at you. They might take up a cup and throw at your head. Why? Because even though I'm helping you, it still hurts. Do you understand? So when we are talking or we're speaking, what they say proper, right? When we're speaking and we're speaking about things that hurt emotionally in the soul, and you're reminding that person of that abuse, you're reminding that person of their pain, in the same way that physical patient will lash out, this is the lashing out you're getting, because you are the reminder. So it's not personal. In this days and time, I try not to take it personal, even though some people do need blocked because they be off the chain. But it's not easy to be out here in social media land. I mean, people be bugging.
It's hard. It's crazy.
They be writing long dissertations. You be like, yo,
man, are you sick? Emunah, I haven't talked to you about this, but it's like, I'm like, this should be a book on tape. What the hell is this? I ain't got time to read this, bro. This is a whole, this is pages. I didn't even know I'm like, I didn't even know YouTube could put that much text in there.
Yeah, they be.
And then what they do, like, wait a minute, when they run out of text, they'll just come back and put another comment up. And I'm like, this is a damn dissertation.
Yeah, that's a dissertation. I can't.
This brother and sister got a damn dissertation, a PhD program right up in here on these comments. And granted, some of them is really good, but it's like, bro, really, come on.
Yeah, there be sometimes you cursing, me with the cursing and carry on, the name calling.
That's when it gets over the top.
We think when we don't agree with someone, again, this is the European mind, but it's human mind. Let me just say that. But it was amplified during this experience that the minute you don't agree with somebody, you have to find some kind of physical characteristic of them to begin to talk about.
Tear them down, minimize them.
And that's going to make you feel what? It's like we don't know how to disagree amicably. We don't know how to disagree and then discuss and actually share why we don't agree. And so all of these things, like you said, need to be addressed. I recently did a show, and speaking on this topic as it relates to the mind, and this woman didn't hear the whole show, didn't hear the conversation, and she went into a dissertation on the thing, right? And so I had another guest on the show. So I told the sister, she began speaking to the sister, and the woman wanted to call hellfire, brimstone. I mean, she wanted to call down everything on this sister. And I'm like, I'm sitting there watching the whole interaction, and I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm going to have to step in. Because, and because the thing is, we are overfed with so much information that we don't have oftentimes the patience to do our research and our due diligence. And that annoys me to no end. Like, if I find somebody, you know me, Brother Philippe, I like due diligence. I want to know what this person has said. So if you have not taken that time to just make a snap judgment on people, don't do it to yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't. You just saw one show. You don't know the fullness. Right. You heard the beginning of this show, and all of a sudden you think Brother Philippe is crazy because, I mean, come on.
Right.
Media does. The media takes a soundbite. And
that's right. That's right.
The
other part of that, Emunah, is we are hurting so bad. We have nobody to talk to. Mm-hmm. We have nobody that listens to us, nobody that values what we say and what we think and what we do. And so this is sometimes social media is a way to be able to be heard. And so sometimes we just go crazy and shout it out and just become, and we're trying to release all of that anger and that self-anger and self-hate because we don't want to acknowledge the successful breaking of the melinated mind. We don't want to accept that because then we think see, people don't understand with addiction. Part of addiction is the power of addiction is not acknowledging that you have an addiction. Mm-hmm. Part of not being able to solve a problem is not acknowledging
that you got a
you have a problem.
Right.
And so that something is wrong, and you keep blaming the other person, and it's like, okay, well, you have a right to blame them, but now since that's not going to change, so since that brick wall is not coming down, what are you going to do to either break through it, go around it, over it, or under it? What is your strategy? Because you just get, so you just pissed at the wall. Okay, so the wall, but the wall is just standing there like, hey, I'm a wall.
Right.
This is what I do. I just stand here and block shit. You know, I don't stop. You know, this is what I do. I'm a damn wall. So at some point you have to acknowledge that it's a wall. Yeah. Now, what are you going to, now you can yell at it. Ooh, wall, stop being a wall.
Like the babies. I said, what happened? They say the wall hit me. I'm like, wow, the wall got arms. instead of I tripped and fell, right? They say the wall hit me. I'm like, oh, really? Now the wall is animated. We in some.
I love it. I love that. I love that. That is priceless. That is priceless.
And so I think what you said is very important, because in this social world where people are so out of touch, this anonymity of the internet allows people to express some of their deepest thoughts without consequence oftentimes, regardless of, because they're not in like physical touch with the person, and they feel like they could say anything and do anything because I want to get it off my chest. And so you are right. A lot of people do need someone to talk to. A lot of people, and that simple thing of actually listening, like I told you, it's going to be 2 years now, and I've been doing just that. It was actually last night at 8 o'clock, which is, and it doesn't cost much if you are willing to learn to begin to bridge that gap of that disconnect. I believe it was Joy under the comment, big up yourself, Joy, if you're watching, you asked something that you can do, and I was saying it's something small. Start with something that you can maintain. And that it will not become too burdensome for you, and something that you kind of a little bit have done for yourself, so that you can honestly share with the people how it has worked and how it does not work. But we need people to speak to. We don't. That's why they say Black people don't go to therapy. We don't have the money to be on the couch talking to this, but we need therapy. And you know, this level of group therapy, when you can actually come and just say what's on your mind and release it. That's why you see the Ayana Van Zant's being so popular, and this kind of conversation. I forgot what's the name of the next. I forgot the name of the next lady. This healing conversation is very popular. They made it into a whole little show just to display. And I don't think it should be like displayed like that, but just to display the deep-rooted issues within our community. And so there is an organization, Brother Philippe, you know me, Community Healing Network. I remember this time, right? It's out of Connecticut. Community, so much stuff in the mind. Community,
I know, because I'm thinking of you, and I'm saying, I know she's got so many things going on. I know she don't remember. She will go to that website while we're on the air live. She will go there.
But Community Healing Network, and they teach. They're out of Connecticut. Like I said before, most high rest her soul, Dr. Maya Angelou, she was a part of it. And when she was alive, and they teach the people circles, being able to sit down and have conversations with one another, and it's a trusted space where you can share. And this is something that you can do in your community centers, within your home, whatever the case may be, but you just have to be willing. And some of the stuff, the truth is, you probably won't know what to say. That's the truth. But the fact that you just shared a little bit of the load, that's beneficial. Sometimes you can't fix somebody's deep-rooted 10-generational long problem.
Good point.
I can't help you like that. But what I can do is be that listening ear, and at the end, I can pass you a Kleenex. You know what I'm saying? At the end, you can say, thank you for listening. Nobody ever took the time to at least say, I want to know what is on your mind. We have to learn to break down that wall of defense and go into trusted spaces to be able to share without people going all and start blasting you like, oh yeah, that's why you said. And that's another thing that we're afraid of, is because now we're afraid of, once we have bared our souls to a certain degree, that people's going to use it and throw it in your face. But the reality, your past is your past, and once you heal from it, it really don't matter what they do with it. You know what I'm saying?
That's absolutely right.
So I said, oh, so it used to be such and such. Okay, and on to other things. So, you know,
exactly.
that you might want to check that out, Brother Philippe. It's really cool. They train people if you want to be trained in it. I do a level of it, but it's in teleconference, and that one is also in person. So these are some of the small things that we can do. And also the children, just talk to them. Just stop and talk to them. Ask them how they're doing, what's going on, what you're into, what you're interested in. Just something small, and then it will grow from there. So, and this is what we have to do. It's not a question of do we want to do it. Each and every one of us has a responsibility. Brother Philippe is doing what he can do in his space. I'm doing what I can do in my space. Like, this is the time I'm taking away a little time from my house to share with the world, you know. And so everybody can do it in their capacity. And what they say, there's an African proverb that say, much hands make the work light. And so you just put your hands on deck and do what you can do, and do it from your heart. And, you know, the Most High we'll begin to get this thing moving and rolling. So, Brother Philippe, I know I went on a tangent, but go ahead, Brother Philippe.
No, that was a good tangent. Well, we're going to end the show right there, because that's just basically it. You know, that was just beautiful. I was just like, well, you know, I'm just going to go ahead on and just, you know, I'm going to leave and just let you finish it on off, Emunah. That's why I love you so much and have you on all the time, because you're more awesome than you will ever know. You're the real deal. And I really enjoy and I really respect Soulonomics, and I really enjoy what you do and the authenticity of what you do in truly healing people's souls, because that's what Soulonomics is about. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, why you decided to launch this Soulonomics campaign and healing our souls.
Like I said, growing up, I just watched, like everybody coming from families, our people are coming up, you know, and I was taught certain things early on that helped me carry through, like, be yourself. That was my, most I rest her soul, my grandmother, we call her Mama, that was her mantra. Be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. So when I was going through and growing through life, I was at one point, you know, my depression, I was in college and I didn't know where to go and where to turn or what to do. And I would just sleep. They'd be like, hey, you come in this class? Nah, I'm sleeping. This is a true story. You understand what I'm saying? And I would cry, Brother Philippe, because early on, I wanted to know, what is my purpose? It's like I dropped into the earth and automatically I knew I'm supposed to be doing something. And so I was stuck for a while. And fast forward, my mother would always tell me, and I love my mother, I love my father. You know, my mother would always tell me, it'll come, don't worry. It'll come, don't worry. And you go through life, and you didn't have a handbook. I didn't have it all written down. I didn't have it all pretty, you know.
Like you do now. You wrote it down now. You got the handbook. You wrote the handbook.
I wrote the handbook because I didn't have a handbook. I didn't want to go into areas, and the Most High is central in my life. That was central. The Creator is central. The divine intelligence of the universe is central. But I didn't grow up religious. You see, there's a difference. And so when you get into religiosity, it got me scratching my head like, you know, so it's like I had to piece together for myself, and everybody to a level. We can only share our experiences, but everybody to a level have to piece together their own puzzle. And so when I finally got to a space where I was emotionally, I was like, and things became clear for me. Some of the issues that was, that I couldn't understand the principles behind it. They kept manifesting in different people in different circumstances, but it was the same principle. It was the same issue. It just had a different face. And after I got tired of stumbling for a very long time, I finally got to that level of a plateau where it began to form and come together. Because early on, I was concerned about my soul. Not in the way that people say you're going to hell. That wasn't the concern. The concern is like getting back to source. You understand what I'm saying? And so like, I notice I write music. All of my songs, I'm like, come on, you can't come up with another song. All of my songs would manifest in way of my journey. I'm on a road. I want to find which way to go. All of my songs would have the same lyrics. Like this was like a driving force within me, wanting to get back. It's like I'm to be continued, but I didn't know where I left off. That's what if you can understand what I'm saying. And Absolutely. So I came into the earth with that vibration of, okay, and when I found the information as it relates to when you heal the soul, you begin to make different decisions and different choices, and you begin to manifest what it is that you came here to do. And I realized when I look at my family and my friends and everybody, we're struggling in this area. There's schools that teach you calculus and psychology and physiology and all of these things, but all of these things are outside of you to a certain degree. Do you understand what I'm saying? But when I'm talking about the immaterial part of you, that part where if somebody says a mean word, it rests with you. You know what I'm saying? That part where it lodges into you and you carry it. I wanted to know how to touch that part of me and cleanse it and purge it. And that's Soulonomics for me. And when I got to that point is where I said, there's people struggling just like I was, but didn't know. All I had was the words of my parents and my grandmother, be yourself and hold on. And I'm like, well, be myself and hold on. Well, what in the world? You know. Right. Okay, thank you.
That ain't enough. I need a little bit more than that.
I need a little more than that. And so I remember, and this is now telling you a little bit about Emunah. I remember just feeling totally abandoned, totally confused, not knowing why. I kept asking, most I, why? I kept asking this question. And one day it just started to open up, about behavior, people, patterns, universal law, attraction, all of the things that we never taught, you know what I'm saying? And all of these things that they mystify, but it's something that you need to teach your very children to understand it in a concrete kind of way. And so that's what empowered me to want to share this story. And the fact that I knew that at a certain point, I was going to have to come back and give back to the people what I had learned. Like that is part of my mission. Because I've looked for my mission for so long. I was a bad employee, Brother Philippe, a bad employee. Like I'll tell you the truth. I was a bad employee. I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. This is not who I am. I got to find out quick. I have a job. Unemployable. No, I'm just not a good employee. At that time, I'm just keeping it real. I said, no, I'm supposed to be doing something else. I don't know if anybody knows that feeling. Whoever is
I totally know.
I'm like, I'm supposed to. So anyway, Soulonomics was birthed out of when I came up with the word Soulonomics. I'm like, well, people make up words. I notice I always make up words, and people say, where did you get that word from? It's just me. I just make up words. I just put words together and make up words. And so I began to look at the prefixes and the suffixes of words and what they mean. And so basically I'll read you out of the yet to be released, on its way to Brother Philippe book. So that's right. Because I know he's gonna beef with me, so I just cut that one off.
I'm gonna talk about you bad. I'm gonna talk about you bad.
So Soulonomics is the universal study of the soul in its form, function, purpose, and use. And so that's what it is. It's just study of it, not necessarily within religion, not in the context of religion. Because a lot of times when we go into these areas, people is going to attach their deity to your understanding of yourself. And I'm like, don't give me that. Don't give me that. I just want that part of it, because I'm not going to put in these different deities into this conversation. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so this is not to say that the person is not worship of self. That's not what it is. It's understanding the self. Why do you do what you do? What is that voice that's telling you to eat that last chip when you know you ain't hungry? You know what I'm saying? Where is that desire coming from? Who is speaking? Because we know there's someone speaking, and you be like, who just said that?
Absolutely.
Don't you want to take that puff, Brother Philippe? Don't you want that? And you have a fight internally inside of you, and a lot of us don't understand that fight. And then we are like literally prisoners in our own soul, because we have another, people would say, entity or voice or desire pushing us around in life. Why did you do that? I don't know why I did it. I just, and then we get this.
Very true. Absolutely. We see that all the time. And that's you're right. You have to acknowledge this. You have to accept it and accept the knowledge.
You have to acknowledge it. Like my I'll tell y'all the story, and this was today, and she's gonna get mad. So I went and got she's giving me a look. I went and got everybody their own special treat. Okay, this is it's a health food treat, and everybody had their own bag. At the end of the day, long story short, I'll go fast. The baby, she eats slower, so she wasn't finished. My eldest daughter, she's looking at me because this is true, because I asked her, what made you do it? The eldest daughter is found sticking her hand in the youngest one bag to try to eat her thing. And I'm trying to understand it. Like, wait a minute. Everybody got their own bag. What inside of you wanted to take hers? And I need for my children to understand what is. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I told her, I said, name it for me. Don't tell me I don't know. I want you to name it. Identify it for me. And what did you identify? She was being greedy. you see, we have to be honest with ourselves as adults. You know why I did it? Because I was selfish. You know why I did it? Because I was greedy. This is being aware of what's going on. It doesn't make it right. It just makes it that you are aware of it and you can do better next time. So I know that was the long answer for what is Soulonomics, Brother Philippe, but it's just
that was good. That was real good, Emunah.
It's getting in touch with the you. This is what's driving consumerism, consumption. This is what's driving overweight. This is what's driving this desire to want to fill this emptiness in the soul.
Well,
so
when will this be available?
It's once I float it over to Brother Philippe and we plan how we're gonna launch it.
Okay, well we're gonna end the show now so we can start working on that. I need to get that copy quick.
Now, I mean, like I said, it's really what I've used. I understand the system to a degree of chakras as it relates to your energy centers and where the injury occurs. And I use this understanding to help me along the way. And so when you understand the basis, like I said, apart from introducing any deities or anything, and I make that disclosure in the book. But for instance, if you are in a space of 0 to 7, people, 0 to 7 in your children, very important time. It's the root of the plant. If you injure that root, it's going to manifest itself in ways that you will not understand. If you understand what I'm saying? So when you want to heal yourself, you have to find out, what is my compulsion? What is my shortcoming? What is my issue? And then you begin to track back down to the trauma. And a lot of times the trauma happens 0 to 7 or 7 to 14. And that's going to affect your desire or your right to exist, which is in the root. When you don't feel that you're shy, you don't feel like you belong. Something happens in that portion, as well as your sexuality. If you are abused from 7 to 14, you will see this manifestation in these areas. So I use it as a way to work backwards to my healing, if you can understand what I'm saying. And I share that in the book. I share positive and negative energy, really taking a look and taking off the labels to a certain degree. When we say positive and negative energy, a lot of times we think one is bad and one is good. No, positive and negative energy is just what it is. One is pushing and one is pulling. And you need both of them to have balance. You understand? But when the world is positive and negative, we think bad and good. No. Male and female, positive is male, negative is female. Why? Because of their function. Yeah?
Beautiful. I love this.
So Soulonomics helps us to get in touch with, and it's already out there. I just combined it and put it in layman's terms. You know me. I put it in layman's terms to be able to identify what it is we're talking about. And also, if you have issues with people and you want to know why you're attracting those people, I give you a little in this book why you keep attracting the same type of people. So.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Okay, so well, we're going to have that conversation on the launch plan of this book. Because this has been I think we've been talking about this for a month, and it's been about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So before I have to just get on a plane, come down to Florida and catch me some Zika virus and something. You know they got the Zika. You know we got to spread out the propaganda. You go down there and get the Zika. So I'm gonna have to come down there and get the Zika, bring it back, so I can get rid of my mother-in-law. Give it to her.
Oh, and I actually did a course. I know I said it before. Actually, the course been finished since like months ago. There's a course that goes along with it as well, and so it's really just set up. And it's an extension of what I share in any of the networks that you may see me. So you could kind of get a sneak peek of what you're gonna be getting. You know.
Okay. All right.
It's hype, you know. So definitely, Albert Philippe.
All right. Well, we're gonna work. Let's work on the next show after we get done with this show. This has been a phenomenal topic. And
contrablast. I'm sorry, the tobacco contrablast. That's the name of. Yeah, I'm a little slow on my draw lately.
The what?
The tobacco. When I was talking about King James going against tobacco, I think it's called the tobacco contrablast. It's a letter that he wrote.
Okay.
Criminalizing Indians and saying they were savages. And this is the and fine Englishmen shouldn't take up this debate.
Oh, okay, I was wondering what you were talking about. I said, "My God, she ain't get." I never knew you had Tourette's syndrome. How much she got Tourette's? She's just throwing stuff out.
No,
what the hell is that? Earlier, and I was what? What are you talking about, girl? Oh, okay. Connect the dots. Put it in context. That's boy. I don't want to be sexist, but women do that. My girl does that all the time. My sweetheart does that all the time. We just driving having a conversation. Next thing I know, we talking about something from 1992. I'm like, I didn't even know you then. What the hell are we talking about?
You know, women, men and women, we have different brains, and together, that's
no doubt.
Our brain. When I read men's autobiography as opposed to women's autobiography, it's very interesting. Man would be like, and it was night and dark, and I was. You know, and I'm like, well, what's the rest of the story? Don't nobody got no name. Don't nobody got no faces. The woman be like, you know, and a drop of beat of sweat came down his face. And I remember because I'm like, wow, you know, this is real different right here.
Oh, that's so funny. It's so true. We're logical. Yeah, we're logical. And it's interesting. I was talking to when Kaba here, Wasa Kamane was in town. And he was talking about it's the not the year, but it's the era of the woman. It's the divine feminine energy is now upon us, and we really have to understand what that means. I think we should do a show about it too.
That's a good show.
Yeah, that's definitely another show. But about this divine feminine, and it doesn't mean the effemination of men, but it is just recognizing that you have to have both. And that you have to have both in order to be balanced and to be whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent show because the masculine energy, like I said, it expands in function. And what we see is an expansion span. And the feminine, just like the womb, and when you look at the reproductive, and when you look at the reproductive quality in the man, it expands, and the woman, it contracts. Mm-hmm. Energies is what bring forth life. And so when we have this expansion continually, more building, more money, more expansion, at some time the earth is going to the energy is going to say, no, we have to contract and bring it back in line. And this is what we're seeing. Because if one is allowed to just continue, it's going to destroy.
That's right. That's right.
And that's what we're seeing. We're just seeing a destruction of the environment. We've seen a destruction of nature because the thought is not to put it back. You know, okay, dude, are you going to put it back? Are you going to plant back the tree that took 100 years to grow, and now it's in your living room talking about, oh, look, it's so nice. Like, put it back.
Exactly. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, put it back, man.
That's a whole another show. Oh, Lord, don't get me started.
All right, don't get me started. I'm done. But I think I've remembered all that I put out there, and so I'm done.
Oh, I just love you so much. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in with this edition of the Philippe Matthews Show, After Hours with Emunah Y'srael, Melinated Minds. And please do me a favor. Go get everything Emunah Y'srael on Amazon. Angry Black Woman Revisited, the Midbar, My Brother, My Keeper, soon to be released, Soulonomics. Yes. Go to her Amazon page. Both Kindle and print on demand. It's absolutely amazing what she has done and what she is doing. And what's your YouTube or Facebook where people can get in contact with you, Emunah?
YouTube is Emunah Y'srael youtube.com/Emunah Y'srael, one word. The Facebook is the same if you look it up, as well as the website is www.Emunah Y'srael. That's EMUNAHYSRAEL.net. And that's a whole nother story. If you put .com, it will come up a little slow. Put .net, it should come up. And one more thing, Brother Philippe, if y'all digging my hat, right? On my off days, I crochet, so you could put your custom order in, because you know you got to be multiple streamed up in here, Brother Philippe.
That's right. That's all. That's what I'm about. That's absolutely right.
Streams. So if you like the hat, among other things, definitely check out. Go to just link me, and I'll give you the link to my Etsy, and you'll be able to go over there and check out all of the other nice things that is going on. So once again, thank you for having me, Brother Philippe. It's always a pleasure. And the baby's learning to crochet. We spoke about that last week. The power of transmuting your energy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? You don't put it all into talking, because then it just goes up. You know, you put it into things that now you can embetter your life and the life of those around you, and share that love energy one to another. And it's a power with doing things with your hand. We've lost the art of handwriting. You know, handcrafting. And that's another show. But they said one thing, Brother Philippe, the energy is different in the food that is prepared by machines.
I believe that, absolutely.
When I saw it, I said, as opposed to the food that you pick with your hands, and that energy transfers. But we have been disconnected from that, as well as our clothing. So we have to, you know, to a certain degree, remember that we are energetic beings, and we transfer this healing vibration one to another with the things we do. And this is why for some people, you don't go get your stuff from some places, because they got the wrong energy, wrong vibration on it. Yeah, so no doubt. I'll leave it at that.
All right, my sister. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.